This is the Algo Futures Trader Weekly Market Roundup. And we're just going to take a look at some of the action from Wednesday. This is the Dow micro contracts. And again, this is an opening morning breakout strategy. So you see this blue shaded area, that's our no trade zone. We're looking for the market to break out of that no trade zone. In the software, you can see generate signals here, in this case to the long side on Wednesday as it broke out to the long side initially. Now you can trade this right out of the box. The template, the opening morning breakout template, is already pre-programmed, and you can turn it, automatic trading on and fully automated here on the right hand side, and it's going to automatically trade for you all the longs, the shorts, everything, until you shut it off. That's typically not the way we trade it though. What we try to do before the open is get a gauge on what market we want to trade and what direction we want to trade in. And that's typically, we take a look at alphawebtrader.com. It's another kind of piece of the puzzle for us. But this just organizes everything for us in terms of trend. So the market is currently open at Sunday evening, and you can see the market is more negative than positive. As you see, this is mostly red. But one of the things we're looking at before the open is the strength of the market, as well as the trend. So you can see on the alpha bias here how this ranks. You've got small caps number 1, S&P is number 2, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and mid caps at the bottom here. Well, it's ranking them from strongest to weakest. So on Wednesday, the Dow was consistently at the top, being the stronger market. And so the other thing I looked at was this little gap indicator here, and we had an inside gap down, and I just notated that on the chart here. So we had an inside gap down, which gives that market also a long gap bias, because the tendency is the market will rise to fill the gap between the prior day's close and the morning's open. And so we had a couple of reasons to go long the Dow on Wednesday, but the action was such that the markets were really choppy. And so this long executed here and took 2 contracts off here. And what I did is manually I just came over where it says stop losses here on the right, where it says BE, that's break even. I just clicked that, and that immediately moved the stop on the last contract to break even. And I just did that, and I interfered with the system, if you will, because I just didn't feel like this is either going to go or it's not. And it went far enough to get a couple of contracts off, fill the gap, and once that was done, basically the market, that's all it did, and stopped at break even on the last. And you can see how very, very choppy things got. In fact, when we got in here, this took about 15 to 20 minutes before we made a new morning high. So that took a lot of time just to sit there and wait for that market to start actually moving in that direction. So it was not a lot of momentum behind the market. So sometimes you have to, especially if you've got some experience and you've got a feel for the market, there's days where there's news, there's days where there's no news, there's days, and we have indicators that tell us when things are going to be more choppy or potentially more choppy. And that is, you see this gray that's showing up on this is called the SVI. If you just put the mouse over SVI here, it will give you a description of what that is. It's alpha bias signal validation index percentage. So when it's beige, that means everything is good. Markets are moving. But when you start to see gray pop up, it means more choppy, false signals, or transition to reverse. And you see how the gray is popping up here on Sunday evening. So that gives us a heads up before the market opens that it may be kind of a flat open, choppy, kind of false signals, stuff like that. So it's very important that we take those things into consideration and just not turn the system on and just kind of blindly trade it. We do keep stats, if you go under the stats here, for the baseline for the system, so you can see how it does if you just turn it on and let it go. But we try to have a little more discretion and use this to determine what markets are strong, which are weak. If the trends are up, you probably want to get long the strongest market and not the weakest market in an uptrend. If the trend is down, then maybe you want to sell the weakest market and not try to sell the strongest market in a downtrend. Things like that. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. You can come into our Discord server. and we start at 9 a.m. in the morning. We kind of go through the same process that I'm talking about here each morning. And also you can download the software for free, use it as long as you want in Sim, and when you're ready to go live, you can either lease or purchase a live license. All right, hope that's helpful. We'll talk again next week.